Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Really excited to be here with you all today. I have not been live in a minute. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Ashley Nicole Kirkwood. I'm the founder of a firm called Mobile General Counsel, where we represent business owners building big brands. And we also provide corporate compliance and communication training to corporations. So I'm coming to you all really quickly this morning to discuss what has been going on in the news with the Gorilla Spray adhesive situation and the young lady putting it in her hair. So first of all, let me set the stage for what happened. And then I'm going to tell you all what I'm going to focus on, which is what business owners can learn from this. Because at the end of the day, you know, prayers to the young lady. Hopefully she's fine. But for a lot of my audience, it's all about, because a lot of business owners follow me, people who are building big brands. And what we need to know as business owners is, what can we learn from this? What can we do about this? What do you need to look out for? And the big question on a lot of business owners' minds who are well-meaning is like, could I really get sued for a consumer's confusion about how to use a product? So that is going to be the question that we answer today. And I'm going to share some things with you all today that every single business owner needs to know. So share this right now, tag business owners, tag people who are building businesses either full-time or on the side. And even you corporate leaders out there who are watching, you may want to know a little bit about this as well, because when situations like this happen inside of a company, everyone at the organization has to know about it, and everyone needs to know what to say about it, what not to say, what not to do, etc. So we're just going to get into all the things about this particular situation. So first, what happened? There was a young lady who wanted to, slick down her edges, make sure her hair was laid right and all of that. My sisters understand me here. And she grabbed the wrong product, right? As far as I understand, she thought what she was putting on her hair would function as a gel and not as an adhesive that'll stick to her hair and potentially cause her to lose her hair. That's the thing. Now, why did she think that? And for some of you who do not know this, now I'm a sister. I lay down my edges like everybody else, okay? I have edge control. I have so many hair products at home, and I want to show you all this because when I originally saw the story, I try not to get too caught up in Facebook videos and all of that, but when I originally saw the story, I was like, well, is that and this is my initial reaction. I am not making any legal opinions, no claims. Matter of fact, let me just tell you guys right now that I do not speak for either company. I am not retained by either company. I am doing none of that. This is all for educational purposes. I am not your lawyer unless you have signed a contract with me. And even then, in this instance, I am not giving legal advice. I am talking about my experience as a consumer and sharing some things for educational purposes. So now that we've gotten all that out the way, because a part of what we're going to talk about is disclaimers and what that means and how they function and what that looks like. So when I first saw the video, I originally was like, okay, well, what's the problem? I thought the whole purpose of the product was to, keep your hair in place, right? So I'm like, oh, it did a good job. Her hair is in place. Now, this is because I actually have this gel on if you're watching me on Facebook or on LinkedIn, you can actually see that I'm sharing a screen and I'm showing you all visuals here. So this gel on the left side is called Gorilla Snot Gel. Okay, it functions and it's very sticky. I personally, not my go-to, but it's very sticky. So this gel actually functions as a gel. You put it on your hair. There is a gorilla pictured on it. The colors are yellow and orange. Now on the right-hand side, upon my understanding is that this young lady used the spray adhesive, the Gorilla Spray adhesive. Okay, now these two products, if you know anything about hair care, okay, talking to people who know about hair care, when you have a product line for hair care, right? So let's think of one of my favorite brands, TGIN. There are a variety of products that they have in their line. They have the gel, the shampoo, there's different sizes and shapes, but the color scheme for a particular collection would be similar. So it's very possible if you didn't read anything else, if you just looked at the colors and you just looked at what was up here, you could say, all right, so we got this may be the gel and this other thing may be like a spray that goes along with it or a shampoo, etc. If you don't read it, you're only looking at it, you're grabbing quickly, etc. Now, here is the issue with this. Both of these brands, this is public information, right? You look up these brand names, you will see that they both have trademarks. They are for completely different purposes, but their color scheme is similar. They both use gorilla spelled differently. One says Gorilla, the other is Gorilla, right? Similar colors spelled differently. They both use a gorilla, and the gorilla is dramatized, meaning the image of the gorilla that they both used has a little drama to it, right? It's not just typical, okay? Here's the problem with this. And this is an unpopular opinion because most people are berating this woman, saying she's, not very bright, and how could you make this mistake, et cetera, et cetera. The mistake could happen. I can see how the mistake could happen. That stated, on the product that she utilized, there are disclaimers. And one of the things the company said straight away is like, this is not intended for use on your skin. It's not intended for use on your hair. And if you read it, it says spray adhesive heavy duty. And if you look at it here, there's even some images on there that give you more insight into what it's supposed to be used for. So what can business owners take away from this? The first question on everyone's mind is, oh my gosh, can she even sue for this? This is absurd. A lot of legal experts have chimed in on this. If you are going to, as a consumer, bring a lawsuit for a product that you utilized incorrectly, despite disclaimers, what courts are typically looking at, and this is as a general rule, is reasonableness. How reasonable is the confusion? Were there disclaimers on it? What does the bottle say? How does the bottle look, etc.? So you're going to have to overcome a lot of those hurdles. In this particular instance, it appears as though, because on her video, she talks about how her hair has been like that for quite some time. It appears as though, and I don't know the inner workings of what happened, but if you are a business owner watching this go down, you want to look at, when did the consumer give you notice of the mishap? Was it timely? Was it done in a timely fashion? What is the labeling on the actual bottle? And guess what? Now that this has happened, any lawyer worth their salt, right, is going to be advising them right now that you may want to update your disclaimers, just because we have now been put on notice that this is something that can happen, and because of what I showed you all of the similarity and how these two brands look. When stuff like this happens, you have to be, you even if you're not liable, there may be an appropriate corporate response. And for every corporate leader that's watching this, every corporate leader that's thinking, well, that's not my fault. Well, that's fine. Yeah, it may not be your fault. You may not have legal liability when it all shakes out. But what is going to be your response to a consumer having this level of confusion and letting so many people know about that level of confusion? Because even when there's no legal liability, the thing that is responsible to do on the business end may be that you need to take some action, right? And what that action is going to be dependent on your liability. You're going to have to look at your jurisdiction. You're going to have to look at what your exposure looks like. And then you're going to have to make a very well-crafted response. And guess what? You want to get a lawyer involved. A lot of times when traumatic things happen to businesses, or when you're put on blast, or where a consumer goes viral talking negatively about you, people's initial response, and I'm talking about growing business owners and even some big business owners, we've seen Twitter fingers get businesses in trouble. They make an emotional response and not a strategic response. So for every business owner that's watching, there needs to be, you have your emotional responses in private, right? You call your lawyer. You say, girl, I can't believe this has happened. But I don't know what your relationship, my clients call me like that. Girl, this is what's going on. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? And they may have an emotional conversation with me to get it out, right? Confidentially. But then there needs to be a public strategic response that is reviewed by an attorney and possibly a crisis manager, right? Ideally, your attorney is able to think strategically from both ends, but you want to make sure that you're protected, because there is, and what this is called, right? Because the names of brands are trademarked. The inventions of brands get patented. Any writing, like your manuals that go with it, your books, that gets copyright protection. The way a brand looks could potentially qualify for something that's not talked about as much: trade dress protection. Trade dress protection. So now we're getting into vocabulary here, but trade dress essentially means that the way it looks is so unique that it can it can be considered like product design. And essentially it's so unique that you should be able to protect it. You should be able to protect it and register it federally. And to give you all an example of this, and it gets a little tricky with trade dress, but like there was a lawsuit involving the trade dress of Calvin Klein's Eternity perfume. And the court found that even though their trade dress had been registered, it was weak because it was quite similar to other perfume bottles used by other designers. And it contained elements that were somewhat common in the industry. So it needs to, with your trademarks, it's not just about registration. It's about how are you protecting it? How are you ensuring no one else in the market uses it? And then how are you policing it after you get it protected? And you want to make sure that if you're going to have a trade dress registration, which is not necessarily at issue here, but if you were going to have a trade dress registration, is it going to be one, is it unique enough to warrant that? And then two, are you going to invest the dollars in protecting it? Because let's chat about something that I don't think people know about. And it's actually not good news for business owners. So I want to get in close and tell you all this. People ask me all the time, can someone sue for a particular thing and why should they be able to sue? And here's the truth. Courts are open. Courts are open. Most courts, 5 days a week. Most have electronic filing. You can file on the weekend. And here's the bad news for business owners. Someone can sue your business and the claim could be completely frivolous. And guess what? You may still need to respond to that claim. So it is not just about business owners. Hear me good. Hear me good. Because a lot of business owners think that some of them think they're doing their lawyer a favor by paying these high fees to get yourself protected and to have competent counsel. Guess what? When you are in business, one of the risks associated with doing business is that you could get sued. You know, another annoying fact about that, you can get sued even if you did nothing wrong. You can be mad about it, you can be upset about it, but you're going to have to respond. And that is a risk that is associated with being a business owner that is severely lessened when you are an employee. Now, I didn't say it's completely lessened because I, as a corporate litigator, know for a fact that there are times when employees of companies are named by name in lawsuits. But more importantly, for the business owners looking, you could be sued and you could be in the right. This is not about right and wrong. And so I want every business owner who's looking at this situation and thinking, oh my gosh, am I liable, to ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one, if it were me, if someone misused my product and my service, God forbid they went on the social media and it went viral, and tomorrow it got billions of views, am I confident in the contracts, in the disclaimers, and in the way that I have described my product? Am I sold up? That is the first question you need to ask. Number two, what lawyer, what wise counsel, what team member do you have that you can call that knows enough about your business that if something were to go down right now today, they wouldn't need to spend weeks getting up to speed about what's going on? Because guess what else? There are a lot of companies that do extraordinarily well financially that do not have consistent, competent counsel retained. And so when they bring in a lawyer, it's because something bad has happened. And at that point, they want the good lawyer to magically fix all the bad issues that they have endured over the years. But it takes time to do that. So if you have been in business for a while, several years, I've worked with some clients who've been in business 20 plus years who have never had a lawyer, but who now have a pressing opportunity to do business on the main stage, and they are not protected in the least bit. And they're worried because they're getting into business with people who have way more resources than them. And if they were to get sued, the other people are more properly positioned to win than them. Because guess what else? And let's just talk high level strategy here, right? When you are a big business, and I can say this confidently because I've represented big businesses, right? Like before starting my firm, I worked for a global law firm, one of the most profitable firms on the planet, still to this day, still doing extraordinarily well. You know, check my bio for what firm it is, but whatever. I work for the big boys. And so I remember sitting in those rooms, and the way in which they strategize is twofold. What are the legal requirements? What can we get away with? What are we going to win with? And what can we do ethically and responsibly? Okay, but all of those things are different considerations. So when I see smaller businesses saying they want to do business with big brands, they want to land Fortune 100 clients, they want to land Fortune 50 clients, they want to work with influencers with massive social capital, because guess what? In 2021, I can almost put my money on the fact that now a person's social capital can be even more damaging to your brand than the money that you have in the bank account to fight it. If there's an influencer with 5 million views and they have something to say about you and they have a cult-like following of fans, you could have billions of dollars in the bank and that person still could have impact on your business that is negative. Okay. And so it's not all about what the money is in the bank, but if you're going to be doing business with people with a whole lot of money in the bank or a whole lot of social capital and your stuff isn't tight, you may be running into some problems. And now you're put on notice because you're watching this video today. The fact of the matter is, when you go into business, there are risk factors and things that you absolutely need to consider. And you need to have a lawyer. You need to have an accountant, because here's the bad news, guys. You can get sued and have done nothing wrong. And you're still going to have to expend time, money, and resources to moving forward with the lawsuit. And let me tell you about a personal situation. I have had to engage on that level. I have had to send cease and desist letters to protect my business's rights. I have had to file claims against individuals for violating my company's rights. And guess what? I was in the right and they were in the wrong, and we had a stronger legal standing. And guess what? I still had to write a $20,000 or a check, right? We're talking about $20,000, $30,000 a year to handle the situation. And that's just one situation to defend one aspect of my business when there are several that we must defend. It is a cost of doing business. So if you want to say that you want to have a big business, a big brand, a huge impact, you want to make legacy, you want to do all the things that it takes, you want your company to be a place where people feel free, you want to get jobs and better jobs, as my friend and coach Felicia says all the time, then you need to have a war chest of money to defend what you're building. Because if you build it, they may not come to spend, but they may very well come for you. And you need a lawyer or someone on your team who's going to be very much prepared to go for the fight. Period. I represent great clients. Some of them are Christians and they have all these great things. But when I come to the table, I'm coming to defend my client hard stop. And when you see these situations in the news and in the media and you're a business owner, I want you to think about it, not just emotionally, but critically. What are the lessons that I can learn from this? Are my disclaimers clear? Is my packaging confusingly similar with another product that someone could get confused for my product? Whether or not it's reasonable. Now, courts are going to look at, is it reasonable? Is it not? But courts are going to look at whether it's reasonable, whether it's not reasonable. But if you can foreseeably think that your product looks very much similar to someone else's product and someone can drink it or someone can consume it, and think bleach, for example. All types of disclaimers on bleach: do not consume. A reasonable consumer may say, why do I need a disclaimer on bleach? I know that I shouldn't consume it. I mean, no one would think that, but yes, some people will think they can consume it. And that is why your disclaimers need to be not only for those that are reasonable, but for the consumers that are not. Your business processes, contract, and systems must be set up not only for people who are reasonable, but for those who are not. That's also why when you're selling products, your risk is so much higher than if you're selling services. Why is that? Because on the services side, you have the unique ability to pre-qualify your client sometimes. Now, if you're just selling digital products, you can't do that. But if you are doing one-to-one services, like we have a law firm, we have a consult process. There are some things you have to do before you can ever sign a contract with our law firm. And so we can put you through a process and ensure that it's a good fit on each side. We can look at red flags and have someone on the team ensure that this is a good fit. We have to do conflicts check. There are processes before you can just say you are a legal client of Mobile General Counsel and attorney Ashley Kirkwood is your lawyer. It's a step, right? You got to take some steps first. And even with my corporate clients, when I am doing consulting training or DEI training, our contracts often have disclaimers for even the trainings that we provide, because I need to protect myself from reasonable consumers and from unreasonable consumers, okay? Because I don't ever want to get to a courtroom and have to put the fate of my business and my legacy in the hands of a judge, albeit there are a lot of good ones. And so you want to ask yourself those questions. That's that, right? And the big thing to take away is sometimes you'll get sued and it won't be your fault. And if you are in business, you almost need to prepare for that, which is why I recommend every business owner have a lawyer and an accountant. I recommend you have a lawyer and an accountant. Ideally, these people know who you are. We provide consistent counsel services, so our clients are on packages with us where they get a set number of legal projects per month. We strategize and talk every month, and it is all set up so that we know their business and we walk with them through growth. A lot of people want to hire a lawyer one time to do this one thing. They're like, oh, I had this lawyer find my trademark. That's my lawyer. That's not how that works. It's just not. You hired a lawyer to do a project. Do you want a lawyer? And that is okay if you are in the very infancy stages of your business. But if your business is growing and revenue producing, you need to have a lawyer month to month on retainer. I was watching a training by Billy Jean, and he actually talks about the legal team that he has on retainer or on subscription if you're a mobile general counsel client. We're on subscription for a lot of clients. And there's a difference between retainer and subscription. So our clients, people who are our consistent clients, know they have someone who has done a legal audit on their business, who has told them what they need to do, who has made recommendations about what steps they should go. And we're handling that depending on the contract that we have with the client. So you just got to be prepared for these things happening. And guess what? It's a risk of doing business. It is also why we have to be very, very careful. If we tell people so freely, oh, go into business, get your LLC, don't work that job. That job's not going to help you. You won't be able to build wealth at a job first. It is a lie that you cannot build wealth as an employee. There were people at my last firm that made like millions of dollars per year. They did not own the firm per se. They may have had a profit or a partnership relationship, but they didn't necessarily own it. And so we need to be careful about forcing entrepreneurship on people who are not ready to do business at the level that it takes to do business. Lawsuits are a part of business. It just is, which is why you cannot point to a big company that has not retained an attorney, a single Fortune 100 company that does not have a lawyer or a legal department. And that legal department typically has outside counsel. Those outside counsel help the legal department and the general counsel that sits within the company to do business. Our firm is called Mobile General Counsel because I was tired of seeing smaller businesses get legal advice as though all they're going to do is build small businesses. So when I talk to my clients, it's like, yeah, you need to be protected for the things that can happen for 5 years from now because you're going to be around for 5 years. And I know that because I don't represent clients who aren't. We don't represent here today, gone tomorrow businesses. We just don't. So if that is you, right? If you are someone building something big, you have to consider the ramifications. What happens if you go viral because a consumer doesn't like your brand? What happens? What do your service-based business contracts say about things like that? What do they say about that? What does it say about what does your non-disparagement clause look like? What can and can't they say? What are you able to post those testimonials? What do your contracts say about that? Did you get permission to do that? Do you have advance notice in your contracts that say you're recording those monthly coaching calls that you have as a consultant? What do your contracts say about that? So you have to think beyond where you're at. And this is where being a visionary leader comes into play. You don't plan. My husband just joined the company as operations director. Yesterday was his first day. And we were talking about, because Felicia had recommended, and Felicia owns Cyrus & Co. She's an amazing business consultant and coach. She had recommended we write down people, process, tech, and tools, where we're at, where we're going, what we need, develop budgets for it all, and figure out a game plan so our ops director can get a handle around where the company is at and where it's going. And my husband, being the genius that he is, who was very much so during our meeting yesterday, he was like, well, okay, are we planning for the immediate term, what I need to do within the next 30 days? Or are we planning for the long haul, what we need to be focused on for the next year? Because the considerations are going to be different. The conversation is going to be different. And there are some steps we need to take to make sure that we get to the big vision that we have of the company. And a part of that is making sure our legal, procedural, and people foundation is set. So for large companies, when they're paying for training and all of that for their people, and they're paying consultants, and I'm doing 2 leadership trainings coming up, one in February, one in March, for these large universities. And a part of it is they want to make sure their people are secure, that they're motivated to do the work that they need to do. You need to plan for that. You need to plan for that. The biggest mistake I made as a new business owner was thinking that my employees are there to make my life easier. When in fact, employees are really internal customers, and you're going to have to please and serve them if you want them to please and serve your business. You have to keep them happy. Like you're paying to keep them happy. Yes, they need to do their job. They need to meet their KPIs, but there are some considerations that you have to have. So I want you all to just keep those things in mind. As a recap, we talked a little bit about the situation that happened with her with the young lady who used the wrong product and what that looks like. As a recap, these two things, in my opinion, do look similar. And so if the one on the left is for, depending on, I won't even say left or right. You can see my marker if you're watching this. The one that I'm looking at, the Gorilla Snot Gel, is for hair. The other one, of course, is not for hair, which we know, everyone should know that now. But you can see how if you don't read, you could possibly get that confused. So as a recap, what you need to be thinking about as business owners, number one, what is your product liability exposure? What do your disclaimers say about your products? Are things being used correctly? And let me be really clear, if you own a product business or a service-based business, disclaimers may still be warranted and necessary. So on those checkout pages, is each page set up correctly and ethically by law? Are all the things on those pages that need to be? Number two, consumer confusion and trade dress. Is your product packaged so uniquely that you need to be looking into not just trademarks, not just copyrights, not just patents, but registering your trade dress, the packaging of your product, because it's so unique? You need to consider that. Number three, consider this. You could do absolutely nothing wrong and you could still be sued. Okay, so consider that. Consider that. You could do absolutely nothing wrong and you could still be sued. Number four, you want to think about, do you even at a base level, not even considering this situation, at a base level, do you have your trademarks? Simple stuff. Do you have your contracts? For content that you're putting out that is generating revenue for your business, do you have the copyrights that you need, the federal copyrights that you need to walk into court and defend yourself? If you do not, listen in, book a legal audit with Mobile General Counsel. Book a legal audit with Mobile General Counsel. It is a law firm that I founded a couple of years back, and we specialize in helping people building big brands to protect themselves on the legal side of things and ensure that they are getting the protection that they need. So a legal audit is where you definitely want to start. You can go to bit.ly/MGC Talk. It is case sensitive. If you are looking at this on Instagram, you could just click the link in my bio. Please tag an entrepreneur that may find this information valuable, that'll give them things to think about. Because I know not everyone is at the point where they can have a lawyer consistently. At minimum, the legal audit would be a good place for you to start to make sure that you're considering the things that you need to consider. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, drop helpful in the comments and let me know what you all think. Have an amazing, amazing Wednesday.